Hey, what's up? In this session, I want to talk about your touch as a bass guitarist. Somewhat your left hand, it totally matters, but I want to talk more about your right hand, whether you're using your fingers or whether you're using a pick. It totally matters. I covered some of this in the bass tone session, so check that out, but it's less about the controls of the bass and the type of bass that it is. Your hand placement does matter, so we'll touch that a little bit, but I want to talk about attacking the string. Now, the mistake that you could make on a bass guitar is to be too aggressive with your hand. Because it's an electric instrument, you're not miking it, you're not going to as much hear what the bass is doing acoustically, but if you're too aggressive, it will come through the pickups. Let me mute the guitar real quick. Now let me show you noise that's not okay. You hear all that noise and slapping and fret buzz. Some of that's gonna happen on a bass guitar. There's low action, it's a long scale, they're really heavy, aggressive strings. So there's gonna be some noise, but you want as little of that fret buzz and string attack to come through as possible. So pay really close attention to what you're doing when you're plugged in. If you're by yourself at home with an amp or whatever, try to get the least amount of noise to come through. We're playing this E here. Mistake that people often make is when they feel like need to be more aggressive, they end up slapping this way with their finger. I'm not talking about slap guitar, it's a whole nother world to talk about, and I can't even do it, I'm not very good at it. But I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about your finger attack being too steep into the string, like this. That is adding something to the sound that you probably don't want, versus Now it may seem like I'm just digging in more, but I'm digging in enough for you to hear the noise of the bass. So if you're getting any of this sound in your bass playing, it's probably not a desirable, usable sound. So be careful with that and try to dig in, but without picking up and plucking, and without coming in too steep. You kind of want to dig in where you push down the string a little bit with your finger, slide off of it. And where your left hand is matters, like keep it in the middle of the fret and keep everything else kind of muted. It's not a slap, it's not a pluck. You're kind of pushing down on the string and releasing. And I end up using the meat of my finger like right around here. I keep my fingernails a little bit longer because I play guitar as well, so I don't want to be doing too much of this. And I turn my hand a little bit sideways so that I'm plucking on the meat part of my finger here. If you're using two fingers, figure out how those work together. You may need to sit with a click track for a really long time, but if you're playing 16th notes, there's definitely a difference in the sound from driving a one finger 16th note versus two. You can play it very staccato or very legato. And that's harder to do for sure. Some people just end up doing one finger, but if you end up doing a song that's too fast to do one, you're gonna need to have a two finger, be able to pluck with two fingers. Also, there's a pick. Every now and then, I don't think there's a one size fits all, always use a pick, always use your fingers. Every now and then, the pick is the right sound for the song. You may not, if you're a bass player, like a true bass player with no other guitar experience, you may not be used to playing with a pick, so this may take a little bit of work, but try to get good at down, up, down, up. It's called alternate picking. Really unique sound, specific to certain songs. You'll hear that all over the place. And so don't shy away from it. Get good at it, but learn how to use the pick. Get the right kind of a pick. You probably don't want a really light pick if you're playing bass. This is a 73 gauge, but it's kind of a harder material. So find something that you feel like sounds good with your bass guitar and know where to pluck it. It totally matters where you place your hand, which we touched on in the bass tone session. So just to recap, as you're playing bass, your attack matters with your fingers. So don't smack, don't come in too steep, and don't pluck up too hard. Kind of push down on the string a little bit and get through it. Use the meat of your finger, try to avoid your fingernails. And if you're going to use a pick, learn how to use a pick, alternate picking, get a heavy enough pick so it sounds good. Playing back here towards the bridge or up at the neck, try to find that happy place at your bass. Wherever you end up placing your hand, you probably ought to play with a pick as well. A lot in there, lots of things to try. So get your bass plugged into something that you can hear and find out where the sweet spot of your hand and that bass guitar is, and you'll end up at a place that I'm sure you'll be happy with. So let us know if you have any questions.